Okay, good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. My name is Rumi Forum, and I am the program assistant here at the Turkish American Alliance. It is my honor to be among such distinguished guests as yourself for our signature Ramadan dinner. I would like to acknowledge the staff of the Turkish American Alliance and the Rumi Forum for putting on this Ramadan Iftar for us tonight. For those of you who are new, the Turkish American Alliance is a non-profit organization that promotes cultural understanding and serves as an umbrella organization for 6 member federations, over 240 community associations, cultural and dialogue centers, business chambers, and educational institutes. The Turkish American Alliance also functions as a powerful advocate for dialogue, not only for the Turkish American and the American communities, but also among the Turkic states, which include Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkey, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, along with the United States. Before we get started with our program, I'd like to show you all a short animation about the Turkish American Alliance. Welcome to the stage the President of the Turkish American Alliance, Dr. Faruk Taban, to give the welcoming remarks and to introduce one of our distinguished guests tonight.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm delighted to have such a distinguished participants representative from the various organizations here, the ambassadors, the senator, and the State Department officials, and a whole bunch of other government officials, think tanks. So this is really honored to have you here at another TAA and Rumi Forum Iftar in this Ramadan. This is our first official Iftar, and we will have 2 more next week in the House, and the following week at the Senate. So you've seen the really brief animation about just the representative of what we do and where our diaspora came from in Central Asia. But as Lamia said, this is a massive organization nationwide, the grassroots. So I'd like to, I'm not going to repeat the same thing, but I'd like to just highlight our initiatives with the broader national organization like the NGA, National Governor Association. I'm heading, as a matter of fact, this Friday to Nashville to participate in the NGA meeting. And we work, so many of our member organizations work closely with many the governors. And we are an official partner of National Association of Secretary of State. We took some secretaries to Turkey not too long ago. And I also was a panelist in Dallas about a month ago at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. So that was a quite interesting meeting, because when I went to the International Affairs Committee to talk about our initiatives, the trips to Turkey, from that international committee, 2 of the mayors just came up and said they were in Turkey to our member organization, one from here in Alexandria, another one is Beaverton, Oregon. So that was a really rewarding experience for us to see that. Unfortunately, I am always at the head of this umbrella to taking all the credits. I know it's really unfair, so whoever does in our member organization, so I say we did it and we done it. So. And also we work with the NAC, Attorney General Association, and lieutenant governors. Also last year, early this year we were on the National Association of Lieutenant Governors, the winter meeting, when the official agenda, and we had hosted in this very room 80-some people, including 11 lieutenant governors. So we are really proud, our member organization really proud what we do, how we outreach those individuals. So I would like to keep you engaged in those initiatives in DC and for those who are coming from the other states. So we are really involved with that, so I can most of the time immediately pinpoint our member organization in that respective states, sometimes just respective cities. So I'm going to stop here. So I'd like to present our next speaker here in the podium. And I'd like to start with a story with that individual. So she was the member of House of Representatives at that time, and we just established 2009. In 2010, we had a first convention, and we came here in, I think, March, with about, I would say, like 40 members from nationwide. The organization came to DC for 3 days to do the networking. And you remember, for those who are in DC, we had 3 snowstorms back to back. So we were in the Marriott, camping, eating nothing else but pizza for 3 days because all roads blocked. And we had one individual from medicine. He was a PhD student in the veterinary medicine, and he said, "I'm going to go and visit my member." I said, it's all snowing, nobody's around, and he said, "I'm going to go." And he went, so I heard the story at the end of the day. So he went to the member, and because nobody was around, everybody was kind of in a shock mode. So what are you doing here? So he knocked the door, entered, and meet with that member for, I remember, like 45 minutes or so, non-stop conversation, no other meeting scheduled. And the only topic was cow, because of the milk industry in Wisconsin, and specifically medicine. That was quite interesting because of his specialty, his expertise. So that's now is the Senator Tammy Baldwin. So I'm going to go through very short her bio. Senator was born and raised in the Badger State in Wisconsin, proud progressive tradition. She has a strong record of taking on corporate special interests and fighting for the middle class. Raised by her grandparents, Senator Baldwin graduated from Madison West High School and went on the double major in political science and mathematics at Smith College. And in 1989, she received her law degree from UW-Madison. In 1998, Wisconsin's 2nd Congressional District elect Tammy Baldwin as the state's first female member of the Congress. She served 7 terms in the House of Representatives, representing South Central Wisconsin. In 2012, Senator was elected to the U.S. Senate, defeating former Wisconsin Governor. She has shattered many glass ceilings, including being Wisconsin's first woman to serve in the U.S. Senate. In the 113th Congress, Baldwin serves on the U.S. Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, the State Senate Budget Committee, and U.S. Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, and U.S. Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. She also serves on the U.S. Senate Special Committee on Aging. Throughout Senator Baldwin's career in public service, including Madison City Council, Dane County Board of Supervisors, Wisconsin State Assembly, and the U.S. Congress, and now in the Senate, she has consistently fought for fairness. So now please help me welcome Senator Baldwin to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Taban, for that wonderful introduction, and no, don't worry, I'm not going to spend 45 minutes talking about cows or the dairy industry or cheese making, but I could. Still, I am just delighted to have been asked here to join you for this signature Ramadan dinner. And Ramadan is a time of renewal, a time when families and communities come together to renew their faith and commitment to living and working together to build a better society. The Iftar tonight is a special opportunity to renew past relationships and build some new ones as we gather here this evening. And it's a time for dialogue. Here in Washington, D.C., there's not too much dialogue these days, and even less unity, and both of which would go a long way to resolving, I think, some of our biggest challenges facing this nation. My dictionary defines dialogue as an exchange of ideas or opinions on a particular issue, especially a political or religious issue, with a view to reaching an amicable agreement or settlement. The Conflict Information Consortium, or CIC, at the University of Colorado in Boulder further explains that dialogue is a process where parties engage in deep and meaningful conversations with their opponents, not for the purpose of resolving a dispute, as is true with negotiation or mediation, but rather for the purpose of developing a better understanding of people on, quote, the other side. Through dialogue, the CIC tells us, we break down negative stereotypes, focus on, that's for recording. Okay, good. I was gonna say, do I need to hold that as I speak? It would be quite something. Through dialogue, the CIC tells us that we break down negative stereotypes, focus on deep-rooted feelings, values, and needs, and come to understand the complexity of the conflict and the issues of all sides. So dialogue is not just talking at each other, it requires listening to each other, grasping both the content and the context to gain an adequate understanding. Now, I'm not an expert in conflict resolution, although I do practice frequently, but to reach an amicable agreement or settlement, it seems to me that both parties need to be working towards the same goal. For many years, immigrants to this country went so far as to assimilate in order to gain acceptance, and they suppressed or lost much of their rich heritage and culture. We now know how much diversity enriches our lives. None of us checks our life experience at the door when we show up to work or to social situations. We bring these life experiences with us wherever we go. Whoever we are, we can affect change because we prioritize issues as we know them, as we've lived them, as we've experienced them. Intercultural understandings are essential if we are to bridge the gaps that divide us. And that is why the efforts of the Turkish American Alliance and your member federations are so incredibly important. Your work to enhance understanding between the Turkic peoples and Americans has done much to strengthen relationships. Whether it is through your conference, policy briefings, trade missions, or trips for legislators and other policymakers to visit Turkey or other Turkic nations, and for delegations from those nations to come and visit the United States. You are facilitating the important dialogue that I refer to. Learning about each other is just one of the benefits. Dialogue can lead to friendship and enrich lives forever. And if we are to create that dialogue, we must first develop and nurture cultural understanding and respect for one another. That understanding and mutual respect comes from the commitment of individuals such as yourselves who seek a better world and more understanding and a more peaceful world. Today, the U.S.-Turkish relationship is based on mutual interests, mutual respect. We share concerns regarding regional security and stability, as well as economic growth and trade. Over the last decade, trade and tourism have grown significantly, and there are many more opportunities to strengthen our economic and our cultural ties. In many respects, Turkey has been a model for other nations in the region. It is Muslim, prosperous, and democratic. And yet there are challenges. Freedom is essential to democracy to flourish, and no freedom is more vital than the universal freedom of expression. And it is not always neat and tidy, as we know. Here in the United States, we are often confronted with conflict. Ours is often characterized by a deeply divided nation. We see examples of the conflict every day on our newscasts. And yet the one thing that every member of Congress, every American can agree on is that we believe in our democracy, the importance of citizens to be able to dissent without fear of persecution. That freedom is necessary for democracy to flourish, whether here in the U.S. or in Turkey or any other nation on earth. In addition, regional stability continues to be of great concern to nations in the area of the world. And the crisis in Syria and now in Iraq as well is particularly concerning. Last year, I had the opportunity to travel to Pakistan and Afghanistan with Senate colleagues, and on the way, we had the opportunity to stop briefly in Turkey to see firsthand the challenges being faced by those dealing with the refugees. Our first day was spent in Ankara, where we met with President Gül and members of parliament. The following day, we traveled to Gaziantep and Kilis. In addition to meeting with the governor of Kilis, we also toured a refugee camp. It was a powerful and visible reminder of how incredibly compassionate the people of Turkey have been. In the time since my visit, the number of refugees in Syria has more than tripled. More than half are boys and girls under the age of 18. And as the crisis grows, Turkey remains a safe haven for these vulnerable people displaced by the horrors of war that they faced at home. Again, throughout the region and in fact the world, people owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to the people of Turkey for their compassion in taking in those neighbors and refugees. As we look to Turkey's future as a continued regional leader, it is essential that it remains strong and democratic. And as we look to the future of relations between the U.S. and Turkey, we can be confident that our ties will be strengthened with dialogue and understanding. That's why tonight is such a perfect time to renew that commitment to dialogue and understanding. Ramadan provides us all with an opportunity to join this community and recognize the commonalities that we all share, despite all the things that make us culturally unique. I thank you once again for your kind invitation to ask me to join you for this special evening. I look forward to continuing that dialogue. Teşekkür. Ederiz, my friends.
little bit behind, but let's get on schedule here. Now I'd like to welcome the president of the Rumi Forum, Mr. Emre Çelik, to the stage to present the Outstanding Public Service Award.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This year's award goes to Mr. John McDonough. John Patrick McDonough graduated from Bladensburg High School, Bladensburg, Maryland, the Johns Hopkins University, Baltimore, Maryland, BA, and University of Maryland School of Law, Baltimore. He was Chief of Staff for the County Executive of Prince George's County and a practicing lawyer for 30 years until his appointment as Secretary of State. 20 of those years were with the firm O'Malley, Miles, Nyland and Gilmore, where he was managing partner for 10 years. He's been active with the National Association of Secretaries of States, having served on the Executive Board and as co-chair of the International Committee, and is currently serving as chair of the Democratic Association of Secretaries of State. He's held positions with many civic and charitable organizations, including the Board of Visitors of University of Maryland School of Law and the President's Roundtable, Leadership Maryland, Catholic Charities, the Red Cross, and the American Heart Association. The Secretary was appointed Secretary of State in July 2008 by Governor O'Malley, and he chairs the Governor's Sub-Cabinet for International Relations, oversees notaries, charities and labor relations, and is one of the state's 6 constitutional officers, along with Governor, Lieutenant Governor, Controller of Maryland, Attorney General, and State Treasurer. I call upon Secretary of State, please, for Maryland.
Good evening. As you heard from the lengthy introduction, I'm John McDonough. I'm the Secretary of State of Maryland. For those of you wondering what a Secretary of State looks like. It's a great pleasure to be here this evening at the Signature Iftar dinner. First of all, on behalf of all the people of Maryland, our Governor and Lieutenant Governor, Senator Mikulski and Senator Cardin, who both speak very well of Senator Baldwin, I want to congratulate her on her fine remarks tonight, and I think she deserves another round of applause. And I would note, Senator, by definition, if you're a member of the U.S. Senate, you're an expert in conflict resolution. So you're modest in your accomplishments. I want to express my appreciation to the Turkish American Association for the award, but it's not at all deserved in my view. As Secretary of State, it's my great pleasure to work for a great governor, Governor Martin O'Malley, and our Lieutenant Governor, Anthony Brown, who just recently was won the primary as the Democratic nominee to succeed Governor O'Malley as Governor of Maryland. And in that capacity, I deal with international relations and with many groups who have great interest in that area in Maryland, not just Turkish Americans, but not African Americans, Africans, European, Indian, East Asian, South Asian, of all types. Maryland prides itself on its diversity, and as Governor O'Malley often notes, our diversity is our strength. And part of that diversity is to encourage our communities in Maryland to make partnerships with their homes of origin through sister state programs, through various other international programs. And in that regard, it's been a great pleasure to work locally with the Turkish Association in Maryland and with the Mid-Atlantic Regional Association, and in my capacity with the National Association of Secretary of States with the Turkish American Association. I think they exemplify how best to unite the legitimate interests of our diverse population here in the United States with their antecedents abroad, and still fulfill the unique role of an American citizen as well. And we pride ourselves on that in Maryland, and not just through the Sister State program and international programs, but through the various governors' commissions on international groups, including one of the first governors' commission on Middle Eastern and affairs, which has included many of the representatives here this evening. So it's been my great pleasure as Secretary of State to work in that area, and if that earned me an award, I appreciate that very much, and I'm very, very grateful. But to a larger extent, it goes to the organizations that I've worked with and to a great state and a great state government who has fostered that. And it's particularly appropriate that we express our support for that diversity here on the occasion of this Iftar dinner. We all have our traditions. I've learned through this, I was raised a Roman Catholic, went to parochial school, and like many of us in the United States, probably viewed the world through my upbringing. But as I've learned in this job and in others, all of us, whether people of the book or of other religions, all try to find God in our own way. And Ramadan and its traditions is one vehicle to accomplish that among many. And the more we recognize that we all are seeking the same connection with one another and with our deity, I think we'll truly have resolution of conflicts throughout the world. And I appreciate very much the efforts of the Turkish American Association in fostering that approach here this evening. So thank you for the award. Thank you ultimately for dinner. And not to be outshone by the center, take a share. Take care.
Actually, we're going to have a group photo right now with ambassadors, both present and former. The senator, if she can come up, and the people that were asked to come up prior.